Okay, so we have reached the end of another course section. So as always, let's take a few moments to review everything that we learned. This section focused on component libraries, particularly the Material UI library, which is the most popular React component library today and is inspired by Google's Material Design Standard. A component library simply consists of various components to utilize in your React application. Components can usually be customized with props, and if it's a really well-built component library, they're also going to give you additional escape hatches where you can really drill deep into those components and customize their look and feel, such as we were able to with the SX prop, all right? And typically, of course, the more popular a library is, the more open source support that it has, the more you're going to find a larger team of developers on it that will build more components, better components with more flexibility in them, right? But there are literally dozens of good options out there as far as React component libraries. And we saw that some available components include container, typography, card, text input, avatar. Most component libraries will always start with the basic building blocks like a text input component, a button component, etc. And when you move into more advanced stuff, you'll find component libraries also support things like data grids and complex animation components and things like that. It really depends on what component library you're using in your project, and they're all going to have, of course, different component options with different APIs for interacting with those components. As far as the React-specific stuff, most of this was review, but just as a quick reminder of some of these core concepts, we can use the map method to generate an array of JSX from an array of data, and then we can render that array directly within our JSX using the curly braces. When we're using map, remember to provide a key prop set to a unique value for each top-level element that you return from the callback function that you pass to the map method. You can also use the filter method to filter an array based on a condition. And to do that, of course, you can provide a callback function to filter that returns true or false. That is not a React-specific concept, but is rather a JavaScript-specific concept. But we saw how it helped us in this project because it allowed us to filter the original employee state without creating any additional state to be stored on our component, which is not a great idea because then we are duplicating objects and duplicating data. So if your state is derived, or in other words, computed or dependent on something else, the best place to place that computation, that additional logic, is inside the render method, because you know that the render method will rerun whenever state changes, and thus you can use that as the perfect location to isolate that new computation, which will be up to date anyway, because it's going to have the most up-to-date version of the state in order to derive the next value. All right, so hope you enjoyed this section and a little bit of an introduction to Material UI, and I will see you in the next lesson.